Welcome to Southampton and welcome back to the Saab 340. We're going to be taking a flight today north to Manchester, and we're starting at about 8:30 AM, so it's a little bit of an early start. So I'll actually get track IO working. So a few early glitches. I've got world traffic working, although it doesn't appear to have generated any flights. So as that vehicle appears out of a doorway, this is going to be an interesting flight because I haven't flown the 340 for a little while. I'm also a little bit unclear how to land the aircraft, or at least how to land the aircraft well. So this is going to be a little bit of a learning experience. Every flight I do in the 340, I'm going to be figuring out how to land it. I say that because it's not possible to set up IFR approaches with this aircraft because the engines are dead. And the only way to practice landings is by doing traffic circuits. And I have issues with my Microsoft Sidewinder force feedback stick, which makes that very difficult. I don't know how it's going to work in this flight. It may be, it's funny, the force feedback in all the other aircraft is fine, it's just in this aircraft it goes crazy, and I'm not really sure what the reason for that is. I've tried making adjustments to the settings, but it really doesn't like it, so we'll see how it goes. So let's start out. I can remember how to do this. I wish these windows would appear in the middle of the screen. So we just want the nose gear chock, wheel chocks fitted. I think we do without dome light. We can assume left and right AC gens are on, left and right avionics are off, bus tyres auto, left and right gens are off, temp control. Let's see if I can figure out, if I remember. As always with X-Plane, it's a bit of an adventure working out, does the scroll wheel work, does it not work? If you've used X-Plane, you know what I'm talking about. Temp select is auto, left and right bats on. And left and right battery alt lights are out. Bus tyre connected light is on. CWP, all the usual suspects. Let's get those turned off. Left gear handle, oh, the landing gear handle is down. Landing gear lights, well, can go without checking those. Hydraulic pressure check, always the same, nothing out of the ordinary on those, no persistence. ESS, the essential avionics on, main inverter on, and 26 volts is main inverter. Crossing valve is off. I can look up there. Bleed valves reset auto. If I can grab a hold of the switch. HP valves closed. I can drag the switches down. Let's put the cabin signs on. Beacon on. Oh, there's an aircraft over there. Look. I swear there was a lighting change when I turned that on. I really do like the art style with Orbex. We will be using True Earth scenery, so everything should fit together nicely. Fuel quantity, I'm not totally sure about this fuel quantity. Wouldn't be surprised if I have to cheat a little bit later on. Just seems like I'm short of fuel, but I'll just have to go with the calculations that I've made, and hopefully I'll prove myself correct. Hydraulic pressure, hydraulic pumps auto, yep. Cabin pressure set. Not a great deal we can do with those. Yep, not a great deal we can do right now. Just got to be looking at landing altitude at when we come into land. Everything is as it should be. That's just a really awkward control to reach or to see. Radar transponder standby. If I remember where the radar is. You got standby, and I think transponder is in a standby position. I think so. Again, it's really hard to see that that switch. Okay, that done. We're going to move on to starting engines. Power levers. Put those in the ground idle position. Right condition lever. Surely that would... I know. Just need to change something quickly. Yeah, that should work. Hold on a second. Here, we're going to have to figure out what exactly is going on here. So why isn't that working? Okay. I thought that was set for something else. Anyway. Minor panic over. Engine start the right engine. Turn my volume up slightly so I can hear something. Okay, everything's coming up as expected. Just looking for everything to stabilise at this point. Which it is close to being. I said in the forum on the channel community page that Coronado have a Saab 340 that they're porting over from, or is it FSX prepared. I actually do like the kind of worn look of the LES version. The Coronado is going to look sharper and it's going to look more plastic, more new, and that's, you know, it has its appeal, but I do like this worn, used look that you have in this particular aircraft. So right gen, if I can get there, reset on, just wait for the light to go off. And the switches, left and right avionics are on. Right bleed valve as desired, right HP valve as desired. We're going to leave them in those positions. Yeah, the obvious question is why, I've been asked this question, why not turn the packs on now? Why not turn the bleed valves, why not open them now and leave it until we're in the air? And that's really down to the load, the high ITT, especially with the power lever at ground idle. If you were on the ground in particularly hot or cold conditions and there wasn't an external AC unit, then you'd use you would use the bleed air. You'd use the right pack as you started the aircraft. There you go. Turn back off. Left condition lever. Oh, a bit too far. Start, and let's start the left engine. And the checklist that I'm using is developed from Saab procedures, so that's why it's a little bit different from the leading edge built-in checklist. And as always with these things, there's no right or wrong, there's plenty of ways to do this, but this is just the way that a checklist that I've developed based on the Saab procedures. Again, waiting for the left engine to stabilize, and of course the benefit of starting the right engine rather than the left is that you can continue boarding passengers on the left while you have the right running and providing air conditioning. Looks stable to me. Let's get the nav on and the left gen reset and on, and we'll keep the bleed valve and the HB valves closed for the time being. Okay, now after engine start, hydraulics check. Again, because it's not persistent, it's always going to be good. Not going to be any issues. Standby P2 is on. Blast protection set checked. I think we're okay for the temperature, so we're not going to do anything for now. There is a lot of cloud around, so after takeoff that might have to change. Auto coursant on, and air conditioning panel set checked. We're getting there for the temperature. Let's bump it up a little bit if I can figure out where the which way it wants to go. It's a bit random at times. Recirculation fans as desired. We'll leave those off for the time being. Left right avionics on. So we now have a functional aircraft. Actually, I forgot completely to do the pushback just on the right engine, so we're just going to have to, I'm going to improvise, see if this is going to work. Where are we actually when it comes to there you go. Should have done this earlier, but see if I can it's a while since I've done this, so hopefully.
Ground to cockpit, please show me where you want to go.
I thought I'd just done that. Logic tells me you pre-plan. Okay.
Ground to cockpit, please
yeah,
show me where you want to go.
Let me see if I can figure it out this time, third time. I swear it was a return. Yeah, enter to accept. Unless this is bugged and it's not gonna work. Enter to accept plan. Okay, this does not look promising. No.
Ground to cockpit. Please show me where you want to go.
That's not working. That's clearly not working, so we're just going to have to kind of smash our way out, unfortunately. But never mind. Okay, well that clearly doesn't work. I think that actually might be broken under 11.3 for some reason, so let's just avoid that one for the time being. Okay, let's just... It looks like it's going to be one of those flights at the moment. Anyway, the emergency lights on. Is this going to go straight in? Yay! Sometimes that doesn't go in and you have to lift up the guard and push it all the way. But we got lucky today. Let's check out the trims. Just give it a little bit more nose up trim, that'll do. Fuel used. Well, let me see if I can... It's interesting, I was watching a couple of guys trying to start the 340 real world, and they were both trying to work out how to use the total fuel used control, and they literally gave up in the end. They couldn't figure out how to do it. It was exactly my reaction trying to use this at first. It is so counterintuitive. There you go, that's how you do it. But honestly, they were just fiddling with it for about 5 minutes, and in the end they just gave up on it. Okay, altimeter set. Let me just as I'm not using radios, it's always so cluttered, it takes me a while to figure out where we are. Okay, 29994. Wind turned off because I'm going to have enough of a struggle to actually land it. I don't need a crosswind to make it even more difficult. Okay, let's get on to... I can't remember where we are with this aircraft. Oh, there you go. I was just trying to remember where everything is. Why don't we turn this on again? There you go. Tiny switch. Okay, I'm gonna have to switch back and forth between the two monitors from time to time, which is going to lead to a little bit of a flash on the screen, unfortunately. Like that. Modern technology. Okay, let's where am I? Delete the flight plan. Okay. See if I can get this right. Oh, wrong way. And that is indeed our destination. So let's see if we can get this to work. So on purpose, I'll be quite involved. Certainly not going to go to Alaska, at least not intentionally. Yeah, that's exactly where we wanted it to be. And I'm going to try Q41, I'm not sure if it's going to work. This may not work. There's only one way to find out. No, it's not gonna. That is not gonna work. Okay. Cowley. That should work. That's probably the wrong way to go. Keep going the wrong way. Hopefully not too many left to enter. Well, absolutely UK. And silver. Probably run out of fuel long before we get anywhere near the destination. Oh, went straight in there. Not going to Venezuela for sure. Yep. And DTY. It's got me on that one. Wait a minute, let's D T Y, and finally Sapco. Not sure, is TNT included in the approach? Probably, I think it is. Okay. Sapco. No, let's move on to the next letter. There you go, that will do. So, procedures, there's no departure. Arrival will be, swap over again. Dean to Alpha. Yeah, there it is. And the approach will be two free right, ILS. Yep. MCT. So there you have it. Quite a long flight plan. Okay, that done. Let's see the item VLOC. So we're departing on 20. If I remember which way we do this. Just got to make sure I turn onto the correct runway. So yeah, we need to turn left. Wait a second. Yeah, we need to turn left when we get onto the taxiway. Let's get back to the set the autopilots, which will be, this would be control. Not time we have to do it this way. So yeah, while I change to 18,000 feet, I am hoping that this is going to go smoothly. It'll be the first flight, well, apart from the issues that we've already had. You got 18,000, and zoomed in tight on that one, heading. So we'll be climbing at the lowest, the lower speed. Just familiarising myself with it again. It's a while since I've done this. Thinking, is there anything else we need to do on the autopilot? I don't think there is, but I may be corrected at some point. But yeah, I think that's that covered. Nothing is jumping out on me at this moment in time. Okay, before taxiing, everything's stable. External lights, let me just find this lock up there. External lights, let's just get the taxi light on. So it's a little bit in fact, I always kind of half forget. Take off the nozzle chocks and close the window. Power levers are at ground idle. Let's move the condition levers up to minimum. And wait for the engine instruments to stabilise. So we're coming down into a stable state. And when that's done, we'll push the condition levers up to maximum. And then we will have to do a very tight left turn. Looks pretty stable to me. Let's bring that's just kind of, there you go, just dropped into place. Don't want it to go too high. Beta lights check on. Yeah, kind of, it's hard to really tell. Ice protection is required. What's the temperature? Can't remember where we get the temperature on these. 10°C, so we're okay. And steering wheel push, which is this. Normally you would steer the aircraft with that, but it's not exactly practical in swimming terms. Parking brake release, and hopefully this hard left turn is going to work, otherwise this is going to be an extraordinarily short flight. If I can avoid giving it any power. Reminds me, that is very useful to have on screen. Hard left rudder. See, this is why I wanted to do a pushback. completely rusty with this. To be honest, I wouldn't have done this flight in this aircraft. I would have more than likely have done it in the PC-12. But this was the popular choice, so if it all goes wrong, you can blame yourselves for voting for this. Just about making it work. But I do not have high expectations for the landing. I expect that to be pretty poor. But that's the only downside with this aircraft, that you can't practice landings in it. Let's just give it a bit more power now. The cargo variant just seems to require quite a bit more power to get it moving. Let's see if we can get through here without any issues. Don't want to pick up too much speed just yet. Still using the stock weather, set to real weather, but I've just taken out the wind speed because, as I mentioned, I don't want to have any more complications than I already have. Currently getting about 22 frames per second, down to 20, so it's usable but not fantastic. Keep the speed down as I'm going to make this turn. Don't want to be carrying too much speed around here. And it's a shame that there's no ground traffic. I might have to rebuild the ground traffic routes or something, I don't know. Not quite sure why it's not working. Just going to hold short here and check if there's anything I need to... anything else I need to be doing. Stop, parking brake set. Okay, before takeoff, external lights set. Actually, let's start getting some of this stuff. Get the strobe on. The light, well, no, actually, I'll leave those off for this until we get into the final spot. Air conditioning set. B valves, HP valves, flight controls are free and correct. You might be able to hear force feedback on the stick. Yeah, that it's. I don't know why it does that. I don't get that on any other aircraft but this aircraft. Okay, altimeter, we set that. Flight controls, instruments, radios checked, fine, not a problem. Altimeter check, takeoff inhibit push. Flaps set, 15 degrees, CTO set. I always set the standard, or what has become a standard. It's about there. I should really check up on the values, but I don't think it's going to make a huge difference. Set power, transponder set. I think that's working. Okay, so that's the last thing that we need to do, is to turn the landing lights on. So what we'll do is release the parking brake, which is released. Just start rolling. I am really impressed with Southampton as opposed to the Pilot Plus one, which looks a little bit dated. The only issue that I have at the moment with Orbex is Orbex Showroom, which has huge issues with the taxiway, which hopefully Orbex are going to fix shortly. It's a terrific airport, it's just the taxiways are so terrible. You're getting stuck on the taxiways, you're having to use 1500 RPM at a Cessna 172 just to get it moving, and it's just a complete nightmare. So hopefully they are going to fix that before too long. As I'm recording this, 11.3 final has been released, so it's no longer a beta. I would expect them to get that fixed pretty quickly. I would be very disappointed if it's not fixed within the next 7 days. Certainly it's got to be fixed within the next 4 weeks. If not, that would be not very impressive, but we'll see. I'm disappointed there seems to be a lack of official comment on the issue on the Orbex forums, which is never a good sign, but hopefully it'll deal with it soon. Just downloaded an update for their libraries, so they've got to be aware of the issue. So it doesn't affect Southampton. It seems to be certain types of taxiway. So hopefully it's not going to be too long before they fix it. I would like to use it in some future flights, but as I said, at the moment it's just not really practical. Still got that grey cloud, that thick grey cloud. There's not an awful lot of variety in the clouds in the kind of stock weather. We're still waiting for X-Enviro 1.1, which hopefully is not going to take too long before we have it. I'll pull back the power shortly to make this turn. Here we go. Don't want ground idle, but close to it. 21 will do. Landing lights on, because it will be a rolling start. 105 knots. We will take off, hopefully. Then at 400 feet. Too slow here, trying to read and pilot the aircraft. Then up, and it flaps up and autopilot engage, and then I'll start working everything out. I'll start working to the checklist. It's such a great advantage to have head tracking when you're doing things like this. You can get around that by using views, but so much more natural to be using head tracking. So hopefully this takeoff is going to be reasonable. It's a while since I've last done this. 105 knots, rotate, and 400 feet above field elevation, flaps up and autopilot on. C2 comes to the rescue. Let's see if we can keep it remotely centre line. And welcome back. We had a crash to desktop just as we were about to take off last time, so we will start all that again, and hopefully this time without any similar issues. It was going great. I was straight on centre line, everything was absolutely perfect. So hopefully I've set everything up back as it was. We can but hope. And let's just double check everything. Everything seems to be back as it was. And let's go and let's find out whether everything is correct. So 105 knots, rotate, and 400 feet above field elevation, flaps up, autopilot engage, and then clean the aircraft up. So let's again. Oops. Release the brake. I am not. Hold on a second. I swear I've got. Well, they're off now. That was the one thing I forgot to do. Anyway, just ignore that. Just pretend that didn't happen. That's what happens when you have to restart due to a crash. Rotate, gear up. Remember, it's actually really doesn't like to come up. So a bit more backstick pressure if the stick goes crazy. That flaps up. Is autopilot engaged? It is. Okay, that done. Let's get the seater off. Okay, that done. Power levers, climb power. And stick with where we are right now. CWP check. Got aircon, which we will get onto. Check out for takeoff inhibit. Yep. Ice protection's fine. Auto caution off. HB valves. One was already done, but that was during the startup. Funny this HB. Down. So I'm going through clouds. Indeed we are. So to look at the yeah, we're going to have to get into ice protection. Remember where we are with this. No, I don't want max. Trying to find a hot spot on these controls sometimes. Can we grab that? I thought we grabbed that. Yeah, we grabbed it now. There you go. So ice protection is on. Just as we punch out the clouds, ice protection is no longer required. Just leave it on for the time being. Let's do prop sync. Find the switch. Altimeter. Fine with where we are for the time being. External lights set. And we are okay for the time being until we get to 10,000. Okay, so that is perfectly adequate where we are now. Got some clouds up ahead. Look, looks like they may be at our altitude, maybe above those before we arrive. Let's get rid of those. Let me just check we are This doesn't look good, does it? Why do we not have... Oh wait a minute, because I'm flying a heading, that's why. My mistake. Should have switched to nav. That's what happens when you have a crash to desktop, you have to restart. I actually tried the automatic start, but I don't think that's working. I just stalled on the right engine for some reason. So, as always, another eventful flight. You always guarantee things that are going to go wrong. One of these days I'm going to have an actually perfect, fault-free flight. Let's just forget all of that happened. So I'm happy with that power setting. Just let me get up to 18,000 and we will set for cruise. Actually, I'm going to have to figure out when we're going to start the descent. We need to be down 3,500 feet, so let's say we're going down 30 miles from 30 miles from say Dana. Let's take that as our point. Okay, got a long way to go. So there we are. I'm going to be pulling back on the condition levers. Particularly like cruise RPM, which I completely forget what is cruise RPM. Absolutely forgotten which is cruise RPM. I suppose it's just getting it into the safe band. I need to remind myself to make a note of that. That down a little bit. This is all okay for ice protection, if I can find switches. Yeah, we're above so let's get that it really should be a scroll wheel control, but it's not. And hopefully that is going to be the frequency for the ILS at Manchester. So we still have a fair bit to go to get to. Still got 1,000 FPM climb rate, which is pretty good. And actually, while I'm at it, let's use this view. It's going to be a lot easier to do it. Let's take the 100 mile. If I can get this. No, it's the wrong way around. You pull it right to go left. Okay, now let's clouds or weather view on that. No. Well, it's telling me it's clear. Anyway. Sometimes works, sometimes doesn't, but I'm not getting any weather display, so I assume it's all clear. So not an awful lot to see because we have such a thick layer of cloud. Got a little bit of a gap ahead here. Also, lightning lights off. What's the temperature looking like? That's about correct. Just coming to 9 o'clock. Probably would have been later if we hadn't have had to crash the desktop. And hopefully we're not going to have any more crashes of any nature. And coming to 15,000 feet. So not a great deal to do at the moment, just monitor everything and make sure that nothing in particular goes wrong. As I said, I'm looking forward to have X-Barrow back. I'm sure I say this in every video, but it will be really nice to have those clouds back. Even without the effects like snow, which is coming apparently in 1.1. That reminds me, I've actually figured out why I'm not getting any aircraft on world traffic, and that's because when it starts it's saying the license is void. Now what that means is that for some reason one of these updates seems to have broken the registrations. I had to do the same thing with X Aviation, reinitialize that, so I'm apparently going to have to fix world traffic. It's just not a very obvious issue, so hopefully that will go smoothly. So for now it's all going relatively smoothly. Climb rate is dropping off. Frame rate is 30 FPS, 28, 31, 28. I have the water reflections down to, I think it's 0. So this is pretty much as good as it's going to get, unless I turn down the world detail, which I don't want to have to do. It's perfectly usable at even 20 FPS. Not ideal, but perfectly usable. It's got 1412 Dina. At which point, as I said, we'll well actually 30 miles from it will start to descend. And hopefully the descent and approach is going to go smoothly. But as I said before, I am not expecting a particularly good landing, any sort of landing I'll take on this, because what I'm thinking is I'll just back off the power a little bit, flare the aircraft, and then add power to arrest any sink rate. Frames have absolutely died again. Just coming back up to 34. It has a heavier feel than the PC-12. Obviously it's a bigger, heavier aircraft. Hopefully I will be able to put it down acceptably. Otherwise, I say I'm just going to accept pretty much anything I get. not a great deal to comment on, given the fact we can't see anything. But that is the nature of this weather. I've never flown into Manchester before, completely unfamiliar with that airport, so I've no idea where we're going to park. I'll just turn off and find it. Assuming that we do land, because it's always possible we're going to have another crash. Okay, we're holding at 18,000 altitude. And leveling off. Okay, where are we on the prop RPM? Ah, we're getting 0 frames at the moment while we're updating something. Probably updating the terrain. Just set off this view down so it's going crazy. I've completely forgotten what value we should be aiming for with the props, but I think that's about right. Bit hit and miss. I should make a note of that on the checklist. And update that on Dropbox. Turn here. And hopefully the fuel is going to last. And there you have True Earth GB scenery, somewhere down there below the clouds. So this is probably the point you're going to fast forward to somewhere near the end, although there may be more disasters somewhere along the line, way before we get there. That's always possible. So everything is in order. There are no lights on that shouldn't be on. External lighting is good enough for us not to need internal lighting. Outside temperature -23, ground speed is 215, true airspeed is 229. A significant wind coming in from the left, although I'm not seeing any value on that. 26 knots. Yeah, I suppose that probably is what it means, 26 knots from the forward left. No, I left some winds upon these higher altitudes. But again, I want to keep it simple. I've not actually done much on the angle of attack indicator on this aircraft. So it will be interesting when it comes to landing the aircraft to see how accurate that is. I know the PC-12, you do not want to be landing with the donut center on that aircraft, because you just will not have enough energy to maintain the glide slope. Just stutters again as I look around. Long way to go. So condition levers at cruise RPM, power levers cruise power. I'm quite happy with where we are. Maintain engine instruments in the green band. Okay, so we're ready for descent. And we are a long way away from descent. I'm sure I've said it before, but it is a great aircraft. I would say, I've never looked at the TBM 900, so I can't comment on that aircraft, but for the turboprops that I've flown, this would definitely be the best. The only issue I have with it really is not being able to practice landings, which is a really important part of X-Plane for me. Just being able to line up an IFR landing and get an idea how to land the aircraft and how best to handle the approach. It's just a real shame that you can't do that. I wish developers would support that. It should be something really basic. I don't need a lot of the extraneous details. I would even rather have that than the GPU. To me, the GPU is a bit of a waste if you don't have the external AC. I'm not going to use GPU unless I've got external AC. So it seems I'd rather have that. I'd rather have the ability to practice landings than the GPU. I'd rather the time had gone into allowing us to practice landings than the GPU. Obviously you'd rather have them both, but if it's a straight choice between the two, that's what I'd go for.